Greetings, everyone. I'm going to share a story with you. And as always, there's always a moral lesson in my stories. At least I hope. I know some people don't really like the repetition of these kinds of story. But if you don't like these stories, then make a recommendation or suggest another topic that I can do just for you. Okay? Now, I was invited to Jamaica in 2006 to speak at a conference addressing principles of different schools to show them using my model to show them how they can incorporate equity, diversity, and social justice in their plan, in their individual school plan, and primarily how to address the issues with children who go without, because it's so easy to ignore it. But when you go to Jamaica and you go to the school, you just have to stay from the far and just observe. And a lot of kids are struggling. A lot of families are really hurting financially. And a lot of kids go to school 4 days per week and they never go on Fridays. And they're like, what can we do? And so a professor from one of the universities here used my model about how to work in the community and incorporate that in the school environment. So I went there and I shared my model, and I shared a model with the principals, but I also shared a model with one particular school. And so I wasn't just talking about the theory, I was showing the practice of doing this. And one of the things that I did was, of course, let me backtrack. I was passing one morning and I noticed two orange tree on our property, and oranges were falling from the tree. And I decided to pick up the oranges that were still good and start to take oranges from that tree. And my intention was to bring them to school and sell it to the kids who could afford it. And those who couldn't afford it, then I would give it to them for free. And at the time, my then, new beau was in this with me. And so he would wake up in the morning and he would make breakfast for me to bring to school. And I would give it to those kids who couldn't afford it, and I would sell it to those who could afford it. For those who couldn't afford to buy it, they got it for free, because that was how I was going to be able to continue to not just use my money, but also some of the resources that I got from those who purchased it. And so we had this private breakfast club, because I don't believe in advertising these kind of things except to the ones who benefit from it. And so as I said, I saw this orange tree, and I'm thinking these things are going to waste. I could put them to use. And so I got some oranges from the tree and I brought it to school and I gave it to the kids. Now I was told by the principal, who I had a great relationship with, that the kids wouldn't be interested in buying oranges because they had it at their place. And I'm like, okay, just give me permission to do this and we'll see about your theory. And trust me, I couldn't have hands to sell it. At that point, I realized that deep down, I'm a real market woman, because I love selling, and I love selling things that was going to benefit my program. Well, I one time I made $500 from selling those oranges. I came home and I gave it to my father. Just, I don't know, just as a gift. Just, it was his birthday and I gave it to him. Well, that was a big mistake. I think he probably shared his good tiding. And all of a sudden, that same tree that was shedding oranges and they were going to waste, I was suddenly told that I couldn't pick oranges from that tree anymore. Those two trees, actually. And so I started buying it from people in the community. Keep in mind, as I said before, these trees were on the property of my parents that raised me. And some of you have heard this story before. Fast forward 2021, I was having a conversation with someone, and the person told me that lightning hit those two trees and destroyed them. And here's the point that I want to make in this video. don't touch God's anointed. You see, when God has his hand, and I say his people, because that's a language you understand, their hand, when the universe has you in the palm of its hand, and when it sends you on a mission, those who try to intercept that journey will be punished. That those two orange trees, no one is able to eat from it anymore, because what I chose to do with that tree was to bless some people who were struggling. Now that's just a little part, and maybe another time I'll go into it more. I found the means of doing this breakfast club, some very creative methods that I used. And I had 40 students that told me that they never left their community. And I sold oranges that I purchased with my own money. I bought eggs and bread and cereal and bun and cheese and stuff. And for a week I sold that. I made $10,000 to go towards this bus from the school, because the school had their own transportation. I rented it for $10,000. And then the following week I did another, fundraising. This time I got the kids involved, and I got them to bring me oranges and ripe banana or whatever it is they could find. Some of the stuff the kids brought were so old. You could tell that the oranges fell off the tree and was there on the ground for a while. Some of the bananas were overripened. The sugar cane that they brought started getting rum in it. And I took everything. I blessed everything. And I did not have hands to sell it. I was able to bring 40 children on a trip. And the day when we were leaving, their supervisor said, I have never seen this happen. And I said, not one child left behind. I was able to raise enough funds so that every child on their way back from the trip could stop at KFC. Because if you're Jamaican, you know the KFC is a big thing, especially with kids. And I was able to pull all my resources, and everybody got a meal at KFC. I was doing God's work. Every time I have a job and I step in that room, I say to myself, how can I best serve you? Because this is a blessing for me. And every blessing you receive, you have got to say thank you. You have to find a way to say thank you. I have never held a job, especially one with children, where I didn't ask, how can I serve you, God? And leave my kids, whether they be babies or whether they be adults or, whatever. Leave them with a legacy, especially children. Leave them with a mission to go forward in the world and to continue what you started. That's my aim. That's my goal. So when the young man told me, I'm not happy that, those two things were destroyed, but it is a message to me from the Creator that no one shall ever eat from this tree again, because they tried to intercept what I ordained you to do. I was ordained. I'm always ordained. So I'm telling you, as I do this job, even on YouTube, I consider myself to be blessed to be in this position and to be able to bless you with the stories and the experiences. And some people might get tired of them. I'm never going to stop talking about my stories. I'm not waiting for someone else to acknowledge my journey. I will. And I want you to understand that if you're a person who tried to intercept other person's work without understanding who sent them and why they must do that work, understand that there will be a penalty. I never wish any evil for anyone, but the person who was behind trying to stop the work, I wish she would repent. I wish she would seek God and repent, because her suffering is going to be great if she does not. Not because I said so, but because the writing is on the wall. And this person refuses to change. And she's always trying to intercept and always trying to stop God's work. And I feel pity for her. And I'm going to pray for her. Do what God asks you to do. Listen not to man, but to the one that sent you. Okay? Whether you want to call this preaching or not, that's your prerogative. Just listen to the message. When you're ordained to do something, you go ahead and do it. Okay? And don't care about the haters. Don't listen to the haters. Just do what God has